The Commission on Human Rights plays a pivotal role in making government and other sectors of society understand what human rights are all about. And I feel that when we do understand what human rights are, then it becomes a unifying factor involving different sectors in government and outside government.
And I think what I've seen in the past 10 years is an increasing recognition that specific issues relevant to women are now becoming visible. 20 years ago, the issue of violence against women was seen as taboo, even in places like New Zealand. But now you're seeing a greater public discussion and a greater political commitment to ensuring that violence against women is not acceptable. Violence against girls is not acceptable.
I think at the base of it all, we need to change prevailing attitudes. The community needs to accept that violence against women and girls in the home or wherever it arises in the society is not normal and is not to be tolerated. So, in my view, it's essential that we engage institutions that are influential and powerful in the village setting in shaping and encouraging conduct change in the village setting.
I think there's more and more an understanding by men that they have to be part of the solution. They have to have a particular responsibility to think about gender inequality, to think about their role in ending it as an individual, but also think about what spaces of influence they have in their institutional life, that they bring that institution to have some understanding and therefore accountability to ending inequality.
Domestic violence and gender-based violence is definitely one of the most endemic problems in the country. So the Anti-Domestic Violence Act was something that we hoped would make a difference. And as a Human Rights Commission Act, the first thing that we did was to start advocating for that law. And the other thing that we started last year, end of last year, and which is still continuing, is a massive campaign just on the Domestic Violence Act. And this is not just about advocacy, it's also about ensuring that the state authorities understand their specific roles within the Act. We call it the Dodi campaign. Dodi in Divahi means ray or light. Part of this campaign was a door-to-door activity that we went about to different houses, making ordinary people aware of their, the Domestic Violence Act and what they could do.
We brought in a strong campaign which was based around social media. It was based around posters. The motivation was really understanding that many women in Australia, they just don't understand what sexual harassment is. We hope to achieve a number of things. One is that women and men across the workplaces of Australia would have a much better understanding of what sexual harassment is, and if you experience sexual harassment, what your options are. But the other thing is we wanted to empower bystanders. When a bystander actually does things, then the behaviour shuts down very quickly. And one thing about that campaign was we did it in partnership with the union movement here in Australia and also with the employers. And I think that's really powerful.
I am maybe more than a member of 50 different organizations, governmental and non-governmental organizations. And we establish also some networking between this organization, and for advocacy it's very important. When happens some case in need advocacy, we are making together. And sometimes also we are going to the street and making demonstration.
The community education, the education function of national human rights institutions is absolutely essential when it comes to promoting the rights of women and girls within a country. National human rights institutions are uniquely placed to commence conversations about issues that may perhaps be more difficult for other groups to start. A good example is the issue of reproductive rights.
We have a new law, although it took a very, it was a tough road leading to its approval. And it's a national law on reproductive health. Again, for the protection of the freedom of choice of women. The Commission is at the forefront on the basic information drive on the reproductive health. We issue guidelines, we issue advisories, we provide promotional lectures, we provide dissemination activities, all to understand, especially on rural women. We need to have those responsible partners. We cannot do it alone, given the resources. We need to have those partnership and the familiarity of these local governments within their areas.